What up, guys? Welcome to another presentation. I'm Tim O'Brien. I'm going to be your host and presenter for about the next 10 or 15 minutes. Just a quick one today, guys. So here's the scoop. The other day, I was coaching a young man who I've watched his progression over the years really begin to rise. And early on, sometimes I wonder, like, does this stuff really work? And more and more that I get to work with people at one-on-one in particular, it's just continuing validation that if you follow the process, the results will follow. And oftentimes it takes a little bit of time because you're planting a foundation, and sometimes you don't see the results, so it's really hard to stay in the game. And so he and I were talking, and he really has begun to hit his stride. And he had a great year, and he's still got another month to go, as a matter of fact. But he said to me, Tim, yeah, I'm happy, but I don't really feel I did as well as I could. And he began to go through a self-analysis, and I thought it was really super healthy because he wasn't being down on himself or negative or, falsely critical. He really was thinking to himself, I could have done better. And so I revisited with him what I think is the success paradigm in the context of sales and business development. And for that matter, I think in your business at large, even if you're not in sales and production. And there's three levels, right? The first level is proof of concept. Will people pay me to buy something? Number two is, if they will, I sell it. Because there's a lot of people that want to sell, but they can't. It doesn't mean that they're a failure in life. Maybe they're better at accounting. Maybe they're better at being a CEO. Maybe they're better at a visionary. But you really have to know, can I sell it? And he can sell it. He's proven it to me. He can sell it. And when he first started out, quite frankly, I knew there was proof of concept because it was a big company that had a long sales history. But I didn't know he could sell it. I didn't think he couldn't. I just didn't know. And at the end of the day, the third level is, how much money do you want to make? And what determines that is, how hard are you willing to work? So the focus of today is really on that paradigm, and how do you set yourself up for an amazing 2020? That's what I'm all about, guys. I'm all about setting myself up for success, and I'm always looking for those little opportunities, to begin anew. Whether it's a new day, a new week, a new month, a new quarter, a new year. I always like to begin fresh. One of my clients, Oscar Gonzalez, owns Northgate Supermarkets, a super successful independent supermarket chain in Southern California that serves the Hispanic community. And he made a comment one time. He said, look, you cannot change the past. All you can do is go forward from where you are now. And I thought that was super powerful. I thought it was really, really powerful. And that's what you need to start with as you prepare for 2020. So what I want to do is I want to share with you what I think is the key to setting yourself up for success. But before I do, guys, I want to remind you, I'm going to be launching my online continuity program. Guys, I am so pumped up about this. I mean, I'm like seriously super fired up because it's a way for me to reach so many people in a really super cost efficient way for my clients, my community, and coach you on a regular basis, right? If we coach one-on-one, it can be cost prohibitive, right? Even if you're in a group setting, it can be a little bit too expensive for you. So I'm going to be launching Your Time Is Now. Your time is now, guys. Your time is now. It's like your date with destiny, right? Now is the time to prepare to explode through to the next level. And so I'm going to be launching that program super shortly. I know it doesn't sound the right way, but super shortly. And I'm going to start advertising, sending emails out. And I want you to get in on it, all right? Because here's the scoop. Only the people that are in my community right now are going to be notified of it. We're going to go out with a big campaign sometime later in the year in 2020, but I want to get my group, my tribe, my folks focused, energized, and empowered and ready to explode in 2020. So be on the lookout for the emails that launch the registration for Your Time Is Now. Also, there's some super awesome bonuses you're absolutely going to love. So very excited about it. Be on the lookout, okay? Now, what's the key to setting yourself up for success? What I'm going to share with you is in the words of my client, Nishan Partamian, who is a super successful financial advisor. He was in my Rainmaker U program. And he was sitting there looking at me, and I was looking at him, and he just kept staring at me, and then he kind of smirked. And he said to me, Tim, this stuff is so mind-numbingly simple. And he meant it as a compliment, see, because what he was saying to me was, Tim, success is not complicated. It is super simple. It's just the application of the simple. So here's the deal. You have to implement what I call the productivity funnel, right? The productivity funnel is a very, very structured and aligned goal-setting system. What you have to do is you got to sit down and you got to think about your annual goals. What I want you to do is take a look at what you thought you were going to accomplish in 2019. Do you want to carry things over? If you don't want to carry things over, do you want to start anew? If you haven't even set goals, is now the first time. But think about the year. Think about what you really want to accomplish. And I want to caution you, because a lot of people go at this with super, a super high level of energy, and oftentimes you overcommit. And you end up achieving a couple of your goals. When if you were a little more thoughtful, if you paced yourself, if you selected goals that were a little bit of a stretch but reasonable, you feel like a hero at the end of the year. That was a challenge for me, and still is to this day, is I get super excited when I sit down and think about the future. And so oftentimes I'll bite off more than I can chew. It doesn't mean it gets in the way of my other stuff. It just means that I really don't hit the goals the way I want to hit them. So I'm always very, very cautious about selecting 5 annual goals that I think are realistic with a little bit of a stretch. Then what you want to do is you want to select your quarterly. You got to have that first quarter set. They're fractional parts of your annual. Maybe you're going to work on a fractional part of each one. Maybe you're going to work on 2 or 3 fractional parts of one of them, and you're going to work on a fractional part of 2 of the others, and you're going to leave two of them, 2 of the annuals, leave them alone till later in the year. Or maybe what you're going to do is you're going to focus on just one of the quarterlies to get everything going, and then you're going to focus on the other annuals on the second, third, and fourth quarters. That's not really important. That's up to you. The key, though, is to create that structure. So think about it as a productivity funnel. High at the top, narrow, narrow, narrow. Then you got to set up your monthly goals, okay? And your monthly goals are a part of your quarterly goals. Same kind of analysis. Do you want to do a fractional part? And you're doing it January, February, and March. And then what you want to do is you want to set up your weekly goals. Now, here's the deal. All I want to say is this. That productivity funnel is amazing. It's like walking. If you walk in a straight line, you cannot help but to get to the other side. It's impossible if you walk in a straight line forward. Similarly, if you execute the goals you set, you can't help but move your business and move your life forward. It's impossible. But as I was talking to this young man, right, I said to him, Jay, proof of concept is there. You know you can sell it. The question is, how committed are you to executing your goals? That's all it boils down to. I know you'll go to work every day. I know you'll work hard. I know you'll work on weekends if you have to. I know you'll work at nights if you have to. I know that you'll break your back for your customers. There's no doubt in my mind. But the question is, will it be situational? And, will it be, as I say, reactive as opposed to proactive, as opposed to leaning in? So what you want to do is you want to set up your annual, your quarterly, your monthly, and your weekly. Now, look, guys, people will say to me all the time, right? Not a lot of people, but people will sometimes say, Tim, I got all these forms and all of these goals, and, there's a lot here. Well, let me ask you a question. Is your year worth an hour, maybe, to set up 5 goals on the productivity worksheets? Is it worth an hour out of 365 days? Is it worth an hour? Next, well, you got these quarterlies. So is it worth a half hour? Because you've done all of the major thinking, right? Is it worth the half hour? Is it worth a half hour a month to plan your work? Is it worth a half hour a week to plan a successful week? You see, when you think about it, it's not a big time commitment. What it is it's effort. And that's where most people fall down, is they're not willing to put in the effort. Guys, here's the genius of the productivity funnel. You set your annual goals, right? And you don't look at them but for 4 times a year. Why? Because you only look at your quarterly, right? So you don't have to, every time you look at your quarterly, look at your annual, because your quarterlies are telling you what part of your annual you're working on. Similarly, when you're working on your monthly, you don't look at your annual, you just look at your quarterly. So you're looking at you're looking at your quarterly goals once a month. Think about that, right? Once a month. Because what you're doing is when you fill out your monthly goals, you're referencing your quarterly goals. Also, when you're filling out your weekly, you're not looking at your quarterly and your annual. You're just looking at that month's goals. So you're looking at your monthly goals 4 times a month. You could actually take your annual and your quarterly and put them away. And every month, all you're doing is 4 times you're looking at your monthly goal. So it's not about looking at today, on Tuesday, I'll look at annual. On Wednesday, I'll look at the quarterly. On Friday, I'll look at monthly. And on Tuesday, I'll look at the weekly. No, guys, no. And during the course of the week, you don't even look at the monthly. Just look at your weekly goals. That's the genius of it. So what you do is before the games begin, you work on your strategy, your annual, your quarterly, your monthly. And then your weekly is your tactical. You see, I don't have time during the week to think strategically. What I do is when I see something that I think is a good idea to ruminate on, I'll write it down and add it to my weekly worksheet so that I don't forget it. But I'm all about tactical. Like today, right? So today, what I'll do is right here. This is it. In the business, on the business. Okay? So all I'm about is just executing what I have on here, checking it off. And then next week, I just carry it over. Guys, when I started my business, I used to do this daily. The amount of impact I had moving things forward, it was like ferocious, right? Ferocious. So here's what I want you to just think about. Are you going to set yourself up for success going into 2020? Is there proof of concept of what you're selling? Are you a gym trainer and you know that people will pay for training? Are you a life coach and you know people will pay for life coaching? Are you an organizer and you know people will pay to have you organize their house, their closet, their life? Are you a financial advisor? Are you a lawyer? Are you an accountant? Are you a doctor? You know people will pay for it. Do you have a history of being able to successfully sell and market it? And if you do, the question is, how hard do you want to work? And I would suggest to you that the best way to set yourself up for an amazing 2020, guys, is to set up the productivity funnel. Okay? So there you have it. Not complicated, super simple. All right? Remember, guys, you are your best bet. Be on the lookout for Your Time Is Now advertising for registration. Just my community, just the people that are involved in my community now. I'm going to work with you guys just for, as you know, the structure is going to be twice a month. We're going to do training calls. Twice a month, we're going to do implementation calls. So it'll go like this, 9 to 10 at Pacific Standard Time. We're going to do a training call. The following week, we're going to do an implementation call to make sure we implement what we learned the week before. Next week, after that, another training call, another implementation call. That's what our month is going to look like. You see, so it's going to be hand over fist, right? And we're just going to move forward methodically at a good pace, implement, follow through, implement, follow through, implement, follow through. You can't help but be successful if you're willing to do the work, okay? So get ready, get pumped, and get excited.